What's going on, everybody? This is Toy Addict 26 here, back again, and welcome to an all-new episode of Toy Addicts Anonymous. Today's guest is someone that is particularly just responsible for, I would say, more than half of the stuff that I own today, mainly because of his beautiful eye candy and the visions that he has for photography, taking pictures of toys and action figures. So let's go ahead and bring on my guest. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? My name is Trevor, OneSixth shooter. I'm from New York, and I am a toy addict.
Awesome, man. So yeah, it's really awesome to have you on here. And a fun fact, Trevor and I spoke about a week ago, and I fucking forgot to hit record on the whole goddamn thing. So we never recorded shit, but hey.
Great conversation for posterity. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So we got some stuff, out of the way. I know some stuff, so it was fun nonetheless, but you guys are not privy to it, so we're doing it all again. We're doing it live today. So yeah, man, a couple things have happened since we last spoke, and I got a couple pieces in the mail too, so it's going to be a fun topic today. So before anything, I just wanted to know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people, your followers, your fans know a little bit more about your background, but I know you started everything with the 1/6 scale, like doing awesome 12-inch figure photography. And recently, you've kind of transitioned into a smaller scale, which is 1/12, doing a lot of stuff for the Horsemen and their amazing Mythic Legions toy line. Tell me a little bit about that. Is photography in general your bread and butter? Is that like your 9 to 5, or are you a professional in some other field?
Yeah, it's another field. I mean, it's adjacent to it because I'm a designer, web designer, graphic designer. I do manage social media for some clients. Been doing that for many, 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 many years, and I'm old enough to have started with film photography. There was digital cameras, but they weren't very good. They weren't just high megapixels, like 2 or 3 megapixels. So I learned on film photography, which I really kind of hated. I didn't really like developing things in the darkroom. I just thought it was really kind of, I don't know. I didn't get I was more of an illustrator. I like to draw. I like to design. So that's what I wanted to do when I was in school. Album covers, book covers, whatever. So photography was like, it's a means to an end if I need a picture of something for a product or something, which was the way my attitude was through when I got out of school and I started working and I got into an agency. If we needed a product shot or something, and the client didn't have a budget for a, professional photographer, I could make do with the digital camera in the back room with a setup and stuff. But I did learn a lot about photography doing it that way. So that's where it came from. So it's adjacent to what I do, but it's not 9 to 5 yet. I mean, with the Horsemen and with some other clients that I do, it's becoming, I would say, 25% of my work at this point. But I'm still doing the other stuff, which is fine, pays the bills, not as exciting or fun. Though we'll probably get into it. I will talk a little bit about how, work is work. So like even doing the Mythic Legion stuff, as fun as the figures are, and as much as I love them, sometimes it's still work. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's awesome. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think you're still kind of living the dream in my sense, because you're still in that creative world. Even though you're not doing the photography, all day long, you're still in that creative arena. For me, for example, I've always been into art. I went to school for art, and not college, but in high school, I was in the magnet programs and all that shit. But it never really kind of happened. I was given a scholarship for tuition only to go to Otis College of Art and Design in California. And I turned it down, being an idiot back then. I was just like, I don't know anybody in California. Where am I going to live? I was just a stupid ass and, turned that down. And who knows what that could have blossomed into. But here I am today, and my 9 to 5 is I do IT. So I'm immersed in technology, but
Mhm.
I'm not really doing what my passion is, which is, like I'm doing customs now. I'm doing illustration. On
Yeah.
this, I'm learning ZBrush because I
Mhm.
want to see if I can start sculpting digitally.
Yeah.
So, all in all, I think it's just awesome to be able to work in a specific arena that you could branch out into different parts, but you're still in that kind of world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're going to find. I mean, who knows? Like you said, you can't dwell on the past. I did stupid crap back then too. Um, you have a chance. You're working on it now, and that could be what you do in a few years. You know what I mean? You may find that the hobby turns into a job. That's what I called this, is a jobby.
Yeah,
It's a
that's a
hobby that turned into a job. You know what I mean? And it's still a hobby. It's still, I enjoy doing it, but the job part is really, like, if you look at my posts, I haven't posted anything for a week because I've been doing nothing but working on Mythic Legions and some vinyl toys that I'm shooting for somebody. So that's been on the table, and I don't have any place else to shoot, so that's on the table. But I mean, you could turn that into something else. You know what I mean? Like, it's never too late to kind of like switch paths, or again, make it a jobby, make it something you love to do after the 9 to 5, which pays the bills pretty well. You know what I mean? Illustration, who knows if what you would have been doing, at this point. And when you do it for a living, like, I loved design and I loved web design when I first learned it. Now I know it, like, I could do it in my sleep, and it's not as exciting, to do, honestly. Like, it depends on what it is, but I
right.
mean, I love my clients, but the industries that are in are not the most exciting, dynamic, things to be, doing things for. So it's
Yeah,
medical. It's like, so while it's fun and it's fine and it pays the bills, this is the fun part. This is where I get to come out and be, get those creative juices doing pretty much whatever I want, being the master of my little plastic world down here. So,
and
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, you do an amazing job in, uh, like environment and world building. You get these figures, and with a mix of like toy photography, photography, I would say like Photoshop touch ups and stuff like that. You do these amazing scenes with the action figures, and one of the things that I've always done. Back in the day when I was a little more committed to toy reviews and stuff, I used to I used to go ham on the uh, on the action figure photography. At the end of
Mm,
the video, I would showcase all this dynamic scenes and dioramas and stuff with the figures. But that stuff takes time. It takes setting up,
yeah.
being patience.
Yeah.
Sometimes figures fall all over the place, and you got to set them all up again. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that you know, unfortunately, I don't have that spare time anymore. So
Hmm.
now, I've resorted more to just having these fun conversations with like-minded individuals like yourself, and just talk about the hobby and what's awesome about the hobby, and maybe
Right.
the things that are a little scary when it comes to, the addiction of buying toys and how expensive the hobby can get. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Oh, yeah.
Um, hence the word Toy Addicts Anonymous.
Yeah.
It's like it could be a bad thing if we don't know how to handle it in a
Yeah.
mature manner.
I mean,
But
anybody who doesn't know how to handle money, yeah. I mean, you've got to have a budget in mind. I don't want to go into it, but all those things. Like, you can't, you can't have everything. And I mean, you can if you have enough money, but you can't
yeah,
really.
and
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 we're,
that's one of the challenges of today is that I
mhm.
feel like, I mean, I'm 46 right now. I've been collecting for more than half of my life. I remember
Mhm.
at one point I used to be embarrassed to walk into a Toys R Us because I felt that people would heckle and be like, this is only a kid's world. And then I ran into like a 50-something-year-old gentleman, and he was just picking stuff off the pegs and picking them off, and I just, I was already always a very talkative person, and I went up to the guy and I'm like, your kids must be so lucky, man, because you're buying so many awesome stuff for them. And he's like, oh no, I don't have any kids. These are for me. I'm a collector. And I'm like, what? And so
Mhm. Mhm.
my eyes just like, I was just like, holy shit. And that's when I discovered this whole new world.
Yeah.
And that was back when I remember Tomar's Action Figure Digest had published a story saying that Star Wars toys were coming back, and that's when
Mm-hmm.
the whole Power of the Force thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, some way, I managed to get into New York Toy Fair for the official launch of the Power of the Force line in New
Oh,
York,
cool.
and that kind of just segued into like this huge, I wouldn't say downward spiral, but it was just like an abyss of just collecting, and I just went crazy, and it started with Power of the
Well, a
Force.
downward spiral and an abyss isn't really. It's not
Yeah,
really
I
much
mean,
difference there.
it was kind of like quicksand. I couldn't get out. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's not good either. Yeah.
and you know, I was young. I was out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
no kids, no real responsibilities. You know, and just to pay my rent and whatever. So it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, and back then, you know, in the '90s, it wasn't that expensive to live.
Right. Right.
But you know, it's funny because now I'm talking about Part of the Force and all that, and it's funny how things have evolved. At least in my collection, I'm not the kind of person that marries and stays with things forever, for eternity. I tend to,
Don't let your wife hear that.
yeah, I upgrade. You know, all my Power of the Force stuff is gone. All my 3.75-inch stuff is gone, with the exception of
Mm-hmm.
some exclusives here
Mm-hmm.
and there. I'm always upgrading, and
Mm.
I always feel that when there's a better version of something, then
Yeah.
it's time for the previous version to go. And that's kind of how I justify expenses, and I balance expenses in that sense. Where I say, if I really want this, I gotta find something else that I could sell to substitute for this. I'm not just
Yeah.
gonna dip into the home budget to
Yeah.
buy this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a good way to go. I mean, I've started purging some things. Sometimes, I'll buy extras of something. Mythic Legions are great on the aftermarket, and I'm not, I don't consider it scalping because I'm sitting on stuff that may or may not sell. But I mean, you can make a little extra on top of it to, and things that you, like you said, things that you're not into anymore that may have some value. I mean, yeah, I mean, if I know somebody who wants them badly, a friend of mine, I'll give it to them or give it to them for cost or whatever. But you can always make a little extra and pay for something else that you want, which is a good way to go. And you're getting it off the shelf and creating new space for something new. Yeah, I know we had this conversation the last time. I remember we were talking about like the Gandalf and stuff like that from InArt as to Asmus and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I'll do the same thing. I still find it hard to get rid of stuff because I'm pretty. I pick up things that I really want. Although I gotta say, I got a lot of Marvel Legends, which I still want to shoot. I can't bring myself to get rid of them, but I keep getting stuff to shoot, and it just keeps getting more and more, and I never get to it. And then I feel like I really don't need to have this, but.
How far down the rabbit hole with Marvel Legends have you gone? Like, are you buying the MCU stuff or just the classic comic stuff?
MCU, I've gone with SH Figuarts, which is even worse because they're more expensive.
Yeah.
But I've only gotten up to like Infinity War, and I don't think I'm gonna go much beyond that. Like, I didn't pick up the new Captain America, Falcon Captain America. There's a few I don't have. I find it's enough. You know what I mean? For me to be able to pull some off and do a photo or something here or there. As far as Marvel Legends go, I kind of stick to X-Men, Spider-Man, and then some ancillary characters that I really am interested in, like Ghost Rider or, I do have a Hulk. I don't know. You know what? It's all over the place. But
Do you get
there's
any of
probably.
those? Do you get any of those the vintage carded ones? Like
I got the Spider-Man ones. I'm off the card. I know you've got your cards back there, and I had some, and I was considering keeping them, but I don't really display them on the card, so I take them onto the card. I've had some that I just sold a Green Goblin for stupid money because that's what it's going for at this point on card. But yeah, I don't really. It's only certain things I will keep on card. Either a duplicate or something I really don't need to shoot, or I bought it for that reason. You know what I mean? Just to have it on the card. But Yeah, no, I do have them, but I don't have them on the card. I have the vintage stuff, the Kingpin, Green Goblin. Yeah, yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah, unfortunately for me with these, I've doubled up on them because, like, a perfect example is Rhino. I got the
Mhm.
Rhino
I
Bath,
didn't get
right,
Rhino yet.
which was a great figure. But
Hmm.
then now they bring him out on a card, and he's got the Paul Harding sculpts, and
Yes,
open
yes,
grip hands, and
yeah.
he's got a sweeter deco. So I'm
Hmm.
like, shit, I gotta get this guy. And then so my train of thought is, okay, yeah, I'm either gonna repaint my bath or I'm just gonna sell my bath. But by now nobody wants the bath because
Yeah.
you get the carded rhino. So it's like, God damn it, Hasbro, you fucking make me buy
Well,
shit
but
over
it's
and
with
over.
anything like that, though. I mean, like you're gonna. The thing is, people are going to run into a situation. Believe me, I know from collecting comic books for years that you almost have to strike. There's certain things. There's certain classic things that will always retain value if they're in top shape or whatever. But you got an uncarded figure that is, you know, 15 years old at some point, unless it's got some sort of it was shorted or low production run, whatever. It's not going to be worth anything. You know what I mean? It's going to be, unfortunately, you know what I mean, for the most part. I had comic books that were worth a lot at one point because I don't know, there was rumors of a movie coming out, or it was the first appearance of a character that people cared about then but don't care about now. And if you don't get rid of it at the height of its popularity, you're just, yeah, it's almost hard to get rid of. I got a bunch of those bath parts that I just pulled out yesterday and took a picture of because I'm like, I'm never going to finish these things. So I got to get rid of these. I got to get them out of the drawer and get them into the hands of people. And it's probably going to be like, hey, here's a couple bucks. You know what I mean? Like a dollar for this part or $2 for that part. Because people aren't like, paying for most of those
And the
anymore. But
biggest pain in the ass is selling online because if you
yeah,
want to get rid of a lot of stuff, the best idea is to go to like a local meet or something like
yeah,
that. I did one last year where like just dealers came in and like 2 hours before the show even started, they were there and I was setting up. By the time people started coming in, I had sold like half of my shit
yeah.
to dealers. They would
Dealers
just
are great for that. Yeah,
$400 for that tub. I'll give
I
you
know.
$500 for that. Dude, I walked out of there with like $3,000 and I sold shit ton of loose figures.
That's
Basically, that's
great.
all it consisted of. So
That's
that's
great.
what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
I think sitting there and selling individual
But
loosies.
that costs you money too. Like you got to buy the table. I've done the New
Yeah,
Jersey Toy Show a couple times, and I've sold some figures, but it's tough. You're competing with other people who have either similar prices, better prices, whatever. People are shopping around, and you pay 150, $200 or whatever it is for a table, and you've got to make that up. Is that worth? Because I look at eBay and go, oh god, the shipping. You know what I mean? And everybody wants free shipping, and then you got to tack it onto the price, and then people go, oh my god, this price, whatever, whatever, and you're competing with other people. But by the time you're done with that, if you just said, here, it's $30 free shipping, it's the same as paying, $2, $3 for that figure to rent the table. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
it's kind of a wash in terms of that. You got to
yeah.
look at
It
it that way
depends.
too, like your outlying costs and stuff like that. But
Yeah, yeah. No, I
yeah,
hear you, but yeah, man. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges now in the collecting world. Right? Is that it's like freaking Baskin Robbins, man. We have so many flavors to
mm-hmm.
choose
Yep,
from all our favorite licenses. And then you've got stuff like Mythic Legions, which is like what nobody else is doing.
mm-hmm.
But there's always those niche licenses. Like for me, I'm a purist with 80s stuff. So Thundercats,
That's
for
good.
whatever reason, that line was never given any love. Bandai
Mm-hmm.
made it. They only did like 2 waves and they canceled the line.
Mm-hmm.
Mattel started the club Third Earth and then they canceled the
Mm-hmm.
whole Matty Collector thing. Like when everybody was getting excited about a whole new line from them.
Yeah.
So, now the Super Seven's going balls deep with this stuff. I'm like all
Yep.
in. I got the Thunder Tank, everything. So, but it's like it's hard to cherry pick and to rationalize what you're not going to buy. For example, G.I. Joe Classifieds. I was never a huge G.I. Joe fan. I had some, some figures here and there. But my core toys when I was a kid was Transformers, it was He-Man, and it was Star Wars. So all those, and I don't know how you base your collections, but I base my collections on nostalgia. Like what is more worth to me is not what it's on the secondary market. It's how meaningful that was to me and what kind of memories it brings from when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. The secondary market doesn't enter into it. I mean, I say this all the time on when people are talking about, should you get two or what's the value or should you keep this, whatever. I'm like, listen, don't collect for value because the longer you hang on to something, depending on what it is, again, like I was saying, things deteriorate or it falls out of favor. You know what I mean? Like I'm thankfully I was a little bit older than you in the 80s. And I like the Eastman and Laird Turtles comic book I read, but I didn't really get into the cartoon. Thundercats, same thing. Like, so all that stuff I can ignore. G.I. Joe for me growing up was the 12-inch G.I. Joes. I watched a little bit of G.I. Joe cartoon here and there, but I was kind of moving towards, other, what do you call it? Pre-teenagery things at that point. So I was kind of like just veering off of, cartoons and toys and stuff like that. But, I mean, you can't collect for value, man. It's a fool's game because like in 10 years, the Turtles aren't going to be nostalgic for people who have the money to collect stuff again. You know what I mean? They'll want some vintage stuff here or there, but it's for you. You know what I mean? And yes, I collect for the things I like. I mean, I have a extensive collection of OneSixth, which includes, Pulp Fiction figures. I have looking at E.T., Indiana Jones, Princess Bride, Braveheart, all the movies that I love, The Dark Knight, Godfather, like all that stuff. And then obviously behind me here is Star Wars. There's 5 rows of Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. But I mean, as far as toys, like just pure love of toys goes, Mythic Legions has no obviously IP, and I got into those like hard. Like I tell anybody, like you pick up one of those, you open it up, you start playing with it, you're gonna have a hard time not wanting more of those.
The coolest shit about it too is the customization,
customizability. Yeah,
I myself, let's see if it doesn't fall apart here. But I myself am working on a custom.
Oh, nice. Cool.
So I got these parts from Art of Sebas.
Yeah, Sebadom, yep.
And,
Sebastian.
They don't really kind of stay in place. I guess, get a little putty or something to get them to stay there. But
yeah,
I wanted to get these elongated forearms. And what I did was I sculpted the tips here.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I sculpted that myself, and then I just repainted him, gave him this piece, the hairy, I don't know what you would call that, but just to make it more beast-like, and less Mythic Legions, and that's the kind of shit that I'm exploring now. I have a bunch of 3D prints, and stuff
grab
like
my
that.
customs. Hang on. I mean, they're so much fun to customize, man.
Yeah, man.
Ton of pieces, like third-party pieces and stuff, and as of like I don't know, a year or so ago, I've gotten into customizing some of them, like buying parts. Been doing some Fury orcs and stuff like that. So I mean, I love the different pieces and parts and the fact that they're modular. That's the other thing I tell people. It's like they're fun. I mean, they're fun. You know what I mean? Like you can get into them and then you can make your own figures. I mean, it's really easy. And when I show people, they just pull apart. They're like, wow. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, everything comes apart. All of them.
Yeah.
But
where the Horsemen, that pivotal decision to make them customizable, I think that's what's made the line so successful because you've got, for example, the Cabal, you've got so many people, you've got this whole world of people that just are doing their own stuff.
Making a living out of it too.
Like Emil Wickman, that guy with his Avengers Mythic
Hmm.
Legions. That shit's amazing. You
Yep,
know.
Eric Miller, all those guys, man. They're they've everybody's developing a style too for this stuff, which is really cool. There's like people known just for that within there, and then there's photographers that are known for it, and it's a cool community. They've done a really good job of building a community around it. I've been getting into like the acid rain stuff and the joy toy
Oh.
things lately, the 3 3/4 stuff, and it's cool as hell, and it doesn't take up a lot of room, which is why I kind of like it too.
But they're expensive though. Because I was
Well, it's
looking
all
at them.
relative, I guess, because like when you can spend $34 and get like a vehicle or something like that, it's like, oh, you're not thinking about it like, yeah, that's not too bad for a vehicle. You know what I mean? But yes, the figures can be expensive depending on when you're getting them or where you get them. I thought the Joy Toys are a little less expensive than Acid Rain, but I don't know. There's just something cool about them, and they're different. I'm getting really into more of these things like that and Plunderlings and things like that don't have any attached IP to them.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just drawn to I love creative new designs. So that has nothing to do with nostalgia or anything I like. It's just like, hey, that looks like a cool toy. So
Did you get any of these?
no, that's another kind of 80s throwback too, right? I mean,
This is like what I loved about this more than anything is that it's these are designed by James Groman, and James Groman originally designed the original Madballs toy line, and these are customizable. Also, you can swap out parts. And this is the only one I got, Hornhead, and I also got a Screamin' Jack, which was like a video game variant. It's like a jack lantern, but it's really rad, man. It's a cool figure. So yeah, it's shit like this. I mean, this is obviously an IP that people know about,
right?
But it's just so much cool shit coming out lately.
It's crazy, and you do have to I have to temper myself. And there's things that are like, sitting on the shelf and like talking about time to sell. I'm looking at right now at my 1/6 like Walking Dead collection, and I lost interest in that show like 2 or 3 seasons ago. Just it's gone downhill, not just according to me, but I'd like to keep some representation there on the shelf for it, but I don't need every minor character that I that I have. So it's time to sell while there's still some interest in it. And the same thing with some of my Game of Thrones figures and stuff.
I'm curious, what was the turning point in Walking Dead narratives where you fell out as a fan?
On the show?
Yeah.
I mean, I think for a lot of people, it was when Rick left. I hung on and I was like, okay, this will be fine, and he's not dead, so he'll come back at some point. And then they just kind of dragged on, and I the time change, I was like, okay, I'll sit with this for a while. And I don't know, I just never felt the same tension for the characters. Like some of these, there was so many characters. I felt that there was almost too many characters. And I couldn't even really get into anybody. And you knew that the core people now at this point in the show, Daryl's not going to die, Carol's not going to die. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's no fear. It's kind of like the way I felt with Obi-Wan. It's like, somebody's not going to die. They're not going to kill off this character because they're the bread and butter of the show. So that whole tension was lost. You know what I mean? Like that anybody could die at any time, which they established kind of at the beginning of the first 3 or 4 seasons. I don't know. It just storytelling wasn't grabbing me, and I know it happened for a lot of people. I'm trying to catch up so that I can watch the finale of it and see how it sort of quote unquote ends.
It's not really all that bad, but yeah, what happened to me mainly was the reason I stopped watching was when the whole Negan situation happened and they reenacted the scene where he killed Glenn. I think there was so much lashback from fans on Twitter and all this shit that AMC kind of like got in a corner and they just went and watered down all the violence. And I remember this one episode I was watching where Michonne was dispatching walkers left and right, but she was doing it behind some bed sheets. So I'm like, are you kidding me? You're not going to show me the gore and the violence that's happening?
Yeah, which they did a great job when, I don't know if even Greg Nicotero is even on there anymore, but they did great effects. And that's the other thing. Like, it almost was the point where it's like, the point of the show from the beginning was that the zombies were this disease, but the real evil was people. You know what I mean? That's always been the case. But at the same time, the zombies always felt like a threat. And after a while, they didn't. And it just felt like, zombies could just come up and, they would just, like you said, just dispatch them. There wasn't really they just didn't have the hordes that they had. I don't know if the effects budget went downhill, but they didn't look as good. Yeah, I mean, and you're right. I think after that Negan season, they seemed to tone things down for some reason, and I'm not really sure why. And that combined with just the story writing just wasn't there anymore, and it just the whole thing felt watered down and like leftover. And it's like, I don't care anymore. I've tried to. I watched it. I kept watching it. I'm like, I found myself like, I'm like half watching another YouTube video while I'm watching it or something. And I'm like, I'm not into this anymore. You know what I mean? So
definitely. And it's a shame because there was some really cool collectibles. McFarlane did some really cool action figures for that show, and 3-0 did some really decent figures. I particularly never picked up any of them, but they looked good. So which ones did you have?
Yeah, I got a couple of the 3-0 ones, but before anybody, I think even picked up this license. So when I got into OneSixth, I immediately found like a forum. This was before, Facebook was still there, but there wasn't a lot of groups at that point. A couple here and there, but there were forums. Forums were still the thing, So there was this six Sideshow Freaks, SideshowCollectors.com, which was more than Sideshow, but that's what it started out to be. And they had forums for everything. And then this other section, it was like once you registered, you could get into it. It was the customs section, and that opened up a whole other world for me. Very expensive world. And it started to be like, but basically what happened, it was like kind of a group commitment. Like somebody would say, hey, we're going to start a Rick figure from season 1 or whatever. And so is going to do the sculpt. And we're going to get, there's like 2 or 3 tailors in Korea that you can hire out. Everybody uses like the same 2 or 3. There's a few people other places too, but they were the core people. We're going to get Yunsel to do the outfit, and so is going to do accessories. So it was this whole collective of, we're going to get these people and we're going to create this Rick figure because nobody's giving us a Rick figure. We want a Rick figure. So I have one of those. Mine's a little more kit bashed than that, but then I have a Daryl that's all high end. This clothing would cost I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just saying what happens there is there's short runs, 50, 60 piece, sets or whatever. And there are, you can pay as much for Daryl's clothing as you would if you wanted to get a full blown cosplay of Daryl's clothing for yourself, for your doll. And then the heads, if you've ever priced that anybody painting even 1/12 stuff, scale it up to 1/6. $250, $350, $400
Holy shit.
to get something. You buy it for $50-$60, then you have to get somebody to paint it for, unless you do it yourself, for $200 or $300. So now you got a $350 head, multi-$100 clothing sets. It gets to be, that's one figure. You know what I mean? So you talk about a hot toy being $250, and it's like, this is 2 or 3 times the price.
That's
for that.
Not a figure I would part ways with, I don't think.
Well, those are the ones I'm kind of hanging on to. I have sold some of those in the past that I just kind of, because like I said, I got caught up in it, and I happen to be, I do well enough. I can't buy everything, but like I did get caught up in some of the stuff that I wanted, and I ended up getting things like, I have what's his name? Jimmy Stewart from
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life sculpt, which I never I got it painted, and I never created the rest of the clothing or kit bashed it or anything. So, I got shit like that I was just like, why did I buy this? What am I doing? I got to slow down on this stuff because I've got pieces everywhere. And now that's Mythic Legions. Now I've got Mythic Legions pieces everywhere, and I got too many of those, and I'll never get to paint them all. But so it's tough.
Speaking
It's tough
of,
to control yourself.
you brought up Obi-Wan. Like, so now that, the season is over and everything, I I think I read there was a video on YouTube that was talking about how John Favreau had some strong opinions about the show, and how he would have done it completely different and stuff. But what I
Really?
liked most, yeah, was that he mentioned that he had a conversation with Deborah Chow, and that most likely about the involvement in season 2. So that kind of makes me excited that Favreau and possibly Filoni will be part of a second season. I would expect a lot better in terms of the narrative and stuff. Overall, I think I was happy, and at the end, the final episode blew me away. I never thought that Obi-Wan was gonna lay out Vader like that.
Mm.
I was like, holy shit! Like, he's just like, well, you're a threat. You were Anakin, you were my Padawan, but now, you're gonna see who I am, who's the master.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that brings me to the whole topic of, I'm always trying to see which is that quintessential, 1/6 scale version of a character. So I just recently picked up, he came in stock, is the Snowspeeder pilot, Luke Skywalker,
Mm-hmm.
from Our Boys. I've got that en route. And I'm on the fence about the Mandalorian Luke, because
Yeah.
when they did that CGI,
Yeah.
it didn't quite look like Mark Hamill. But then
No.
in Book of Boba Fett,
Mm-hmm.
he
It was
looked
perfect.
so much better, dude. He looked like
Almost perfect.
like they time traveled in fucking shots.
Well, they got the guy who did I said to people after after it aired, and I was on my feet. I was by myself. My wife had gone to bed, and I couldn't wait to not watch the finale. I usually watch it with her like the next day, but I'm like, I'm staying up to watch this. And I was just like, oh my, that's Luke. That's Luke's X-Wing, blah, blah, blah. So it was great. And then he walked in, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's Luke, yeah. But I was still excited. It was great. And then watching it back, I'm like, they didn't quite hit it. And I'm like, I told my co-hosts on the 1/6 pack on my YouTube channel, Tom and TJ, that I guarantee there will be a deep fake. Somebody will do a better job at this, like in the next week. And it was the next day, I think, that guy put it out. And I'm like, see, look at that. There it is. Right? That's perfect. Why? This is Disney. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? And so they hired the guy. And the next time it looked amazing. And the voice sounded great. And Vader's voice sounded much better with James Earl Jones because of the changing, the modulation that they're doing with it now, as opposed to what they did in Rogue One. So it's like, it just boggles my mind that they're not going out there and finding the best people. But yes, to get back to Hot Toys, that was my first problem when they showed that. I'm like, why are they looking at a bad CG version of Luke when you've got an entire movie or two, Return of the Jedi, you could source from that, make it look like that. That's how he's supposed to look.
Yeah.
Why are you making it look like he looked in bad CG?
Yeah, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to curate my stuff. So it's like, okay, hopefully, they go back and say, well, people aren't really happy with the way he looked in Mandalorian.
Right.
Let's update his head sculpt and make the final product look more like Mark Hamill. So I'm kind of like just waiting. I'm waiting for it to drop in HK so I can see what the final product looks like. Because unfortunately, I missed the ball when that Luke Jedi came out, the one that came with the Endor gear and stuff. I missed out on that one, and he's like, I hope $100 now.
I hope they revisit it, but they usually say that it's not the final sculpt, but you never know. With Luke, they've done that several times where they've sometimes to the detriment. I think the original sculpt and paint that they had on Farm Boy Luke in the prototype was much better than what came out ultimately. But this talk about customs. This entire thing is custom as well.
Oh,
So this sculpt is by Inigo Gill, who does some sculpts for. He's done for Big Chief. He hasn't done Hot Toys, but he's done some other of the secondary pieces. But this entire thing, the outfit was done by that woman in Korea, Yunsul. So it's just, I mean, it's weird to get into, but it's like a tailoring thing. You know what I mean? Like you can get to the point where you start looking at stitching.
yeah.
You can go a little nuts, but for certain figures like this to me is an important figure, a version of Luke that I like a lot, and I really wanted a good version of it. So I've been kind of. He also did the little sort of wavy haired version, which is really cool. So I just think these beat. I mean, there's some not perfect things about this as well if you really look into it deeply, but I think they've hit it better than Hot Toys.
So those heads are like $200-$300
at least. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta really like one of the top painters to paint it, because I mean, there are many people who do it and do it well. And then there are people who just like, especially in the eyes, can just nail it. And he's one of them. So this was, this is a special figure.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's one of the things. And then I'm thinking about, like, for example, the Snowspeeder Luke.
Yep.
He comes in that beautiful 40th anniversary Kenner style packaging.
Yeah, that was great packaging. I love that packaging.
And that was another sell for me in the sense of him. I'm waiting for a Hoth Luke, which I was surprised that they didn't go that route for the 40th anniversary. But then next year is the 40th anniversary.
Oh, you mean the Hoth Luke where he's out on the Tauntaun? That look,
the Hoth gear. You know, having two heads, one with a busted face and the other one with.
I have. I don't know if I can adjust this. Where is he? There he is. You can sort of see the Tauntaun right there. Luke's on that. That's the sideshow Luke. Hoth Luke. I have the sideshow Luke, Han, which they're both pretty decent figures. I mean, for the time that they were made, sculpts not so great, but with the gear on. You know, the goggles and everything, it's definitely passable.
My main problem with Star Wars for Sideshow was their bodies. Their buck bodies.
Terrible. And they're still not good.
Yeah. They just haven't been able to nail it. So, you know, I'm the kind of person that I'll hold off rather than buying the predecessor. I'll hold off, and I'm like, well, if Hot Toys got the Star Wars license, then these guys are eventually going to get made. My happy ass will wait until.
Sure.
Yeah. But you know, right now, Return of the Jedi should be doing their 40th anniversary next year. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, Empire came and went without a Han Solo. Though I do have a custom ESB Han Solo as well.
Well, I'm sure
can I share something here?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the Tauntaun. Oh, I guess you gotta pop it up. That's the Tauntaun Luke.
Oh, wow,
on the Tauntaun. Yeah, I mean, this Tauntaun is great, and I don't know if they'll do one again. I really wish they would, because I would probably buy a second one. But
I feel like the Tauntaun is like cold cast resin, right? He's like a statue.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
Because I feel like Hot Toys would probably approach it more in the sense of like a vinyl rubber, and perhaps even give it some articulation.
Yeah. So this is my this is a custom. So this is the body of this is the sideshow Snowspeeder Luke, and it was weathered by someone to give it that wet, dirty look. I think I like it better. I didn't get the Hot Toys one because I like this enough. I think it's actually good. That's just the one of the Return of the Jedi Luke heads on it. But I actually have an ESB head that I can put on it too. So yeah. So I'm not picking that one up. And that is a Sideshow R2D2 that I covered with mud, which people are like, awesome. What the fuck are you doing? But anything for a good photograph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's how it is.
Yep.
And yeah, no, but with Hot Toys, like I said, I just got, it feels like I've been waiting 3 years for this damn thing. Pretty sure you got this too, no?
What is that? The Mark?
Battle Damage Endgame.
No, I did
Oh,
not. So me and Marvel Hot Toys. It's a storied history. I held off for many, many years. Like I was just going to get Star Wars Hot Toys, and then like the movie stuff that I liked, like Braveheart and stuff like that. But I kept telling myself I'm not delving into Marvel Hot Toys because it's a slippery slope, right? Where do you stop?
yeah,
So I ended up getting like the first Avenger cap, and then there's called the Rescue cap, which is his military uniform, basically the leather jacket and the helmet with the A on it,
yeah,
the military helmet, which is just a cool looking figure, and it's hard to find now. So I'm glad I got it, but I'm like, that's enough because I really loved First Avenger. It was one of my favorite movies back when things started out. And then I'm like, you know what? I'd like just an Iron Man or something. I don't even know what my second one was. I can't remember. But suddenly, before I knew it, I had like 2 or 3 or 4 Marvel figures, and I'm like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to assemble my Avengers from the costumes that I like the most, that I think, kind of represent like the comic book look that I like. And then that's going to be my Avenger team on the shelf. I am not going to do an Age of Ultron team and an Avengers team and an Infinity War team. And like, I'm not doing, because I can't, I can't, not even money wise, I can't, but like space wise, forget about it. Like, I just don't have room for that. So that's what I did. So I have an Avengers team up there that has like the Age of Ultron, Thor, and the Endgame Captain America, and I don't even remember what Iron Man that's from. That might have been Infinity War, and the Avengers Hulk. So it's all over the place. But it's an Avengers team, and I'm happy with it. And then I got the Guardians of the Galaxy. So like it's slowly expanding, but I just got to get a Spider-Man, and I think I'll be okay.
What about this
now?
one?
What is that?
Video game classic Spider-Man.
Oh, that is a really nice looking figure, man, and I can't blame you for getting that. That's something that I definitely thought about, but again, like I'm trying to stick to, okay, it's just movie stuff, and couldn't do it. It's great looking though. All those in the Miles Morales, like Miles Morales 20, I think it's called the 2020. It's that digital face mask and stuff like that, and then there's ones from the game that look great. Like I can't do it.
No, I hear you.
Don't have room.
At one point, I used to have like probably 20, 30 Marvel pieces. I sold almost everything. The only thing I really have right now is this Iron Man. I have not the battle damage one, the second Thanos that came with the armor and the helmet.
That's what I got. Yeah.
And then I got.
It's a great figure.
I have the Endgame cap, but I'm actually thinking of getting rid of it because I don't need to have the full team. I used to have Hulk. I sold it. Now it's like unattainable.
Yeah.
But it's again, like what I was saying about curating. I feel like this Endgame Iron Man is like the quintessential piece because it's got such an awesome Tony Stark head sculpt, and
it does. Yeah.
That's such a pivotal scene at the end. The I Am Iron Man. It's basically probably the last time we'll see him on the big screen in a movie.
For sure. And that's cool too. I did think about it for that. I was actually looking at it the other day, and I'm like, it is kind of an iconic piece. I can't justify it, but it is really nice, and I'll probably regret it someday that I don't have it. But
yeah, I missed the boat on the Gandalf, man, because I was going to order from Toy Wonderland, and they're sold out. And the problem was, monetarily, like the only thing I could do was I was going to get into the payment plan, but then they needed like a down payment of like 100 something, and I was like, I can't do it right now. Then this Mondo He-Man comes along, and I was able to do a firm, and I broke that up into 12 monthly payments.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's kind of like, sometimes you got to choose your battles,
Yeah. Yeah.
but going back to 112, which is the stuff that you're mostly focusing on right now, and what we have here in the background, I know that Ilithia and the deluxe barbarians are supposed to be, shipping to customers very soonish. I
Yep.
was curious if you've received final production samples of Ilithia to photograph.
No. So here's the thing and this is, I know we talked about this last time. So, when it comes to like getting the final production stuff, I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I mean, I haven't before, but I'm going to be driving to New Jersey to pick mine up. but, but I don't get any special treatment, nor do I ask for special treatment in terms
Right.
of getting stuff first, because they're busy. They get stuff in, and if somebody ordered before I did, which chances are they did, there's no reason I should get mine first, because I've already kind of photographed them. I would like to go back and do some what we call like environment shots for each one of them for the website for those guys, which I will get to, because when I shoot the prototypes are prototypes. The prototypes are resin, 3D cast, hand painted, not really maybe a once over with a coat of protection, and that's it. Paint can still scratch off them. Shit breaks all the time, because when you got a little flexible like wire or something that's on like a cable or something that's on like one of the Cosmic Legions, that's not flexible. It's generally resin, and it can snap. Or the little weapons, the weapons warp, and it's a lot of work. Like, what people don't understand is, like, you get that stuff and it's like, oh, it must be so much fun, but that stuff, production figures are fun. That stuff is a nightmare, man. Like, first of all, you got to put them together. They're resin, so the joints don't stick together, like pop together and have that satisfying, like, there's nothing to stick them. So I have to like wrap medical tape around them until they get to the right point where they're sort of staying in place. Otherwise, I've got an arm up for a pose, and as I'm shooting it, the arm is like just like falling down. That's why I can't use tack, because tack is just it gets warm and it falls. So I devised that tape method, which works pretty well. But you're also worried about like setting up an elaborate shot, like some of the ones that I did with the Cosmic Legions reveal. There was, one point where that big slog guy like nearly fell over onto two of the insect Sphex figures, which those things were held together with, glue and like the little arms and stuff like that. So many times things broke and had to be repaired. And God forbid that thing ever fell forward, as heavy as it was, onto them. It would have been a disaster. So that's the kind of stuff you're up against. Like, and you're up against time. Like, they generally get these things done. It's not their fault. Not going to blame them. But like, some of it's last minute. You know what I mean? And they need it. You got about a week and a half to shoot it before the reveal. So it's work. As much as people say, "Oh, that's got to be so great," there are times when it's great, and there are times when it's stuff like that where it's work. I'm at my bench repairing things with my jeweler thing, trying to get things together and wait for them to dry so that I can go back to the table and shoot the stupid figure. It takes a long time.
So literally, when you receive those, they come unassembled, like in parts, just
generally. Yeah, generally, because what we did with Ilithia is I went to their studio. This is kind of where we were. That was kind of the first. I'm trying to think, the first wave reveal, was it one of the first wave reveals that we did together once I started working for them, and one of the first prototype situations I think I was dealing with. So I went to the studio while they assembled them. They were literally gluing them all together. Eric Treadaway and the other guys were there, like gluing them together into a pose. So they were static. Like, the way they're shot, I couldn't even like, hey, let's raise the arm. They just put them into a pose. We put them on the table. We did the turnarounds. Then we did an environment shot like you see in the back, but that was Ilithia, just as they were posed. So, if they put somebody on a horse, they were on the horse, but, so that's, Yeah, I mean, I could ask them to just glue them together, you know what I mean? But I kind of like to have the ability to pose them somewhat, for a shot.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't do that. I could do that here, but again, it's like if I do the turns, which is just on black, and they're just, you've seen them, they're just the turnaround shots of the figure, and they're just kind of in a neutral pose. I then want to take them and put them into, like I had to with Cosmic Legions, into an environment shot and have them holding up a weapon or something like that. Well, if I glued it in, I'm kind of screwed. I either got to heat it up and break the glue joint and risk breaking, the joint itself. So, I don't do it anymore. I tape them up and deal with the consequences of that. But so it's yeah. So yes, to answer your question, they all come in pieces. They give me diagrams as to what they look like. They do a great job of packing them up into separate, sections and stuff like that, so I know what's what. But just the assembly, you should see this table that I'm on right now is just filled with stuff and just pieces. So it's it's work. It's not just like, hey, here's some cool figures.
It's work, but at the end of the day, like you're kind of getting a headache trying to build these amazing action figures that you're passionate about. So it kind of balances out.
It does. It makes it worthwhile. Like if it was something I didn't care about and it was just work and it was like, I got to do these again. Yeah, it would suck. But I love the guys there. I love the line. I love the look of them. Opening them up, you're like a kid in a candy store. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, look at this thing. This is so cool. And it's the first time I see them too, is the prototypes, unless they show me some pictures ahead of time to kind of gear me up for what I need. But even then, you're holding it in your hand, which was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, but it is, it's more work than I think people think. And when, I've seen people say some things about like the Hasbro shots, the posing isn't great. They may be dealing with the same thing. I know that I did a little bit of work for Mezco before D kind of got in there, and like, it was the same thing. Like you had to tack all the joints together. There were no joints. It was just a prototype, and the thing was floppy as fuck. And it was hard, man. It was a difficult thing to deal with. So yeah, that's just the reality of it behind the scenes. I think that's why companies like Super 7 are doing digital renderings and stuff, which I don't like.
Yeah.
But it's much easier,
Well, I know they do. They got the digital renderings, but they also have Sergeant Bananas does.
Yeah, they got Johnny doing the stuff, the production stuff that they have. I know that, right. But like when you see the Simpsons pieces, I think mainly, unless he's got some prototypes now. I thought I saw something with the new ones, but in the past, I think it's just been digital renderings of those, and then you get the product, and maybe he takes some shots of those afterwards. But I don't recall seeing any of those. But yeah, he gets to do some prototypes for like the Turtles and things like that. So.
Yeah, it does seem like they're doing a lot more digital renderings nowadays, which, in terms of scale, there's a lot of issues with final production. People, particularly for me with Thundercats, I have like a whole community. I have a Thundercats page and everything, and people are always complaining about the proportions. Like their Vultureman is just a mutant, but they made him look like he's this towering monster. And I was talking to Brian, and I'm like, dude, is he that big? And it's like, no, it's when they do the digital renderings, I guess they kind of spaced him like in a way that looks like he's bigger. And so there's always different challenges and stuff with the organic toy photography that you do. You get a full sense of scale, and you get that world, that environment that you build. And
you can feel the figures. It doesn't matter how good a render it is. Like it's always going to look like a render. You know what I mean? Like it's the tangibility, I think, is important. I don't like buying things on digital renders. I have, but I would much rather see even if it's not a final prototype, even if it's the Horsemen do a great job of painting things in house and then having them come out looking exactly like that, if not better. It's pretty incredible because I get them and I look at them and I'm like, wow, they're never going to get this level of detail, and of course they do. It's great. So they're just great at either the factory they have doing it is great, or they're great at managing it. I'm sure it's a little bit of both. Well, a lot of both, but yeah, I mean that's the other thing with paint and stuff. Like you're not really seeing these things in real life, the way they look. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know that's a whole other world, being behind the curtain and being immersed in some way within the toy industry. That's
mm.
something that I would love to do someday, and hopefully I get chosen for this lottery thing. I signed up for the intern for a day for this year,
Oh
so
yeah,
yeah, I'm really looking forward to see if I get chosen. I would love to
for
go.
Four Horsemen, I think they picked it already.
They did.
Yeah, did you get an email?
That's a good
I
question.
hate to be the bearer of bad news, but check
When did
your
they send
junk
out
mail.
those emails, though?
Yeah, it was about a week ago.
A week ago.
Yeah, check your junk mail though, because it could go to junk. Some people found it in their junk. But if you
Oh,
didn't get anything, unfortunately, I hate to say,
oh man.
yeah, sorry. I didn't. I should have told you that after the show. Yeah, good luck on that, George.
Shit. I'm gonna have to check my email and my spam because
But I mean, there's
like
always next year. It happens twice a year now. I think they're doing it around Legion's Con, and I think they're doing it in the spring because they're doing it around the reveals for new waves of, for the most part, like the major waves. So, you have 2 times a chance a year, and it does cost some money. So I don't know how many people, they won't say how many people signed up for it this year, but I imagine it's quite a few. So I don't know what they're going to do to limit people who have been there before from going again. Hopefully it's not just on the honor system, but, have, if you're whoever you want to take with you as your number one, have them sign up as well. If it's your wife, to have her sign up for it too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea.
At least then you both have a chance of
yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Now I know for the next run, but hopefully there's something in my spam.
It's fun. I mean, I'll tell you, as of last year, I started doing like a little photography no, I hate to call it a panel. It's just like, they get to walk around the studio. They get a tour of that. They get to talk with the painters. They get to watch Eric sculpt something and kind of, help direct that. And then they get to paint. You've seen the pieces that they get to paint and stuff like that. And then they'll come in and I'll show them a little bit about photography and stuff. So it's fun. And then you get to be there when the wave's revealed, which is a lot of fun. And it's just basically it's meeting the people. You know what I mean? It's meeting people who are in the cabal, and everybody's so nice. It's incredible. But yeah, I mean, you'll get there. It'll happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, eventually. I was gonna ask you, with Comic-Con right around the corner, anything you're excited potentially for a reveal, like something you're expecting to see, revealed?
I'm curious as to the Hot Toys exclusives that they're going to come out with. Those are always kind of either from out of left field. And I was fully expecting that one of them might have been like a Heath Ledger Joker, because they've re-released Batman. They've re-released Two-Face a couple of years ago as an exclusive. But now with the Queen Studios in art Joker, I don't know if that's going to be kind of anticlimactic. I haven't really been paying attention, so I don't know if there's something that's, people are rumoring it to be, but it's usually something cool, you may or may not want. I don't know if I would have figured at Celebration they would have revealed a little bit more. Like I wanted the ESB Han. But they might do some of that too. It's probably going to be more like Marvel stuff. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Like, Mythic Legions doesn't do anything. Marvel Legends, I just pick and choose as I go. There's nothing really. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta have. Like, I do want a classic Angel. I keep pinging Ryan Ting to like. I'm like, listen, man. I sent them a picture last year at the office, like one of the photos I did of the Sentinel, and he sent me a note thanking me, and I'm like, I did put something in there. I'm like, can I get a classic Angel, please? he's like, yeah, there's this body types we're working at. It'll happen someday. So I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, eventually.
But other than that, I can't think of anything. I don't know if Mezco's doing anything centered around this at this point. And that's probably the only other company that I can think of that I'd be interested in what they would do. Black Series, kind of out of it. Almost don't even care. about special pieces anymore. I'm more into like the vintage line of Star Wars stuff now because of the Razor Crest.
It almost
But
seems,
even with that stuff, if I miss an exclusive, unless it's, I don't know what it would be, but I don't know. I don't know.
it
It's got to be
seems to
something good.
me, it almost seems to me like the Black Series figures, even though they're larger scale and you would expect more from them. I feel that the vintage line has a lot more detail, a lot better.
They look better. The sculpts are better. They're painted
Yeah.
better. I don't know what it is.
I think they even
They're
have
much better figures.
They have more
I
articulation.
feel like they're more articulated. I mean, the ankles are a little tough at that size, but
Yeah.
the rocker on them. But yeah, I mean, even with the Black Series, they're not great. Yeah, I just, because of the Razor Crest, and I picked up a couple other of the 3 3/4 inch set pieces. I did pre-order that the Jabba throne room. I'm just really liking them. I haven't shot them much yet, but except for the Razor Crest. But yeah, they just look really, really good. And I don't know, the Black Series I feel like I have everything I need in that. I don't really need some of these deeper, more ancillary characters, and I don't like what they're doing with them. I like Black Chrysanthemum is a figure I'd like to have. I want a hot toy, but I hated what they did with that.
It's
with that
straight
figure.
garbage.
Terrible. So like,
Chewy.
don't want it. You know, I don't even
He's
want
so
it.
lanky and skinny, and it's just horrible. Like,
It's terrible.
they did him no justice. I'm still bittersweet about the whole Rancor fiasco. Like, I feel like timing wise, we spoke about this last time.
Yeah.
They missed the bus like big time, and I hope at some point, because of Book of Boba, that they'll revisit that campaign. Maybe tweak the Rancor a little bit, where you can say, "Hey, it's Book of Boba if you put this accessory on it," or "Hey, it's Return of the Jedi." So you get like a twofer. You know what I mean? But I really want that Rancor.
We were talking about it. I remember talking about it last time, and I think that we were both. I think everybody's a little shocked that Disney can't let things out sometimes. And like, yeah, I've heard Ryan, the people who are a little more vocal about like how the process goes, say that sometimes they don't have they have preliminary artwork to work off of, and they change the costumes in a show so that like when it comes out, it's like, well, that doesn't look like it did in the movie, but that's what we had to go by. So I could see where they wouldn't have told them, but honestly, that scene of him riding the Rancor, if you dug deep enough, was out on the internet, at least a picture of it, from the set or from a leak or whatever. We saw it before even, I think, the first episode aired, So like the fact that they didn't know that, maybe they couldn't go out and say, I'm sure these schedules are set way ahead of time, and they've got to we are launching September or whatever, period. We're not changing the date because there might be a Rancor on Boba Fett in December or whatever, which I think is stupid. But I guess they were so confident that this thing was going to sell that they didn't care or didn't think they needed that boost. But come to find out they did. That, and it hot on the heels of the Galactus just ending. Not good timing. Just not good timing with that. And I did order it right at the end. I was one of the people at the last minute was like, all right, I'm going to do it. See if I figured it was going to get over the line. I figured it was going to be that last minute rush that where you watch the numbers just jump, and it was going to go, and it didn't. And now, unfortunately, I think they're going to have 2 in a row because I don't see this lightsaber set going anywhere. Honestly, it's a weird choice, and the lightsaber people will pay for the lightsabers. I think if they had just put that out and said, hey, you can get Reva's lightsaber, maybe you can get 2 pieces of it, and whatever, however they put it out, $500. I think people who collect lightsabers would have gotten that. To try and crowdfund that, I think is dumb. It's just dumb. Doesn't make any sense.
It's stupid. But yeah, like for me at Comic-Con, I'm hoping to see some new Hot Toys. I would like to see Obi-Wan from the series, new Hot Toys of him. Mainly his costume from, I think is Bajim, the planet where he fights Vader and kicks his ass on.
Yes, yeah.
And I think, I still don't own a Vader, so I think my quintessential piece is going to be a Vader from that series, and I
Mhm.
hope they'll do that ravaged voice box and
I
the,
think that's a guaranteed,
the
because
flash
that's a new
mask.
helmet. Yeah,
Dude,
you'll
that's
still get the same body that we've been getting forever, I'm sure. But
yeah.
you know,
But those parts, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
like, so that's the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to. And from um, from Multiverse of Madness, dude, I really that zombie strange that they're doing.
I'm so tempted by that hot toy, and we just talked about it on the 1/6 pack last week, and I'm so tempted to get it for the pieces that I could use for other, just the skeleton arms and the zombie pieces and stuff for other photography. We were talking about like just the fact that you could use that stuff in other places, but it just looks, if you look at that hot toy, it looks so damn good, but
Yeah,
it doesn't fit in my collection at all. You know what I mean? I don't have
yeah.
any. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I should get that and the zombie Iron Man
Deadpool.
and that zombie Deadpool, and then
Yeah,
I'll have like a zombie collection. I'm like, no, I don't have room for that. No. But yeah, it would be kind of cool to get a Marvel Legends version of that. I would probably tend towards waiting for the SHF version of it, but
yeah. With SHF, the one thing that I noticed is that their output on their head sculpts, the detail is
it's touch and go sometimes.
yeah.
It's 50. I wouldn't say it's 50-50. It's crapshoot is what it is. Like
I want to
sometimes they're
say
great, sometimes yeah.
I want to say I'm more partial with Mafex. I think
Mafex is awesome.
yeah, they're doing
But
some.
Mafex is slow though. But I mean, Mafex, you're not going to get. I don't think you'll see anything from. You know, has there been anything recently from
They
Mafex from the
actually
MCU?
they actually released. It's already out in stock. I think at Big Bad they had the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange that has the like the kind of dragons coming out effect from his hands. That's a Multiverse of Madness version.
Of
Uh,
Mafex?
yeah, no, not Mafex. SHP.
SHF. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I would buy Mafex everything because I love Mafex. I've been not replacing, but augmenting my X-Men with all the Mafex X-Men that come out. They're awesome. They're all their QC problems have disappeared for the most part. But the Dark Knight Batman I've gotten, the Hush Batman and Superman. I love Mafex now. They're fantastic, but it takes forever. And they're
yeah,
just seemingly like random, like, oh, we're going to release, this. The Hush stuff, it's coming out steady. The Dark Knight stuff came out fairly steady. But like in terms of X-Men, it's like, oh, here's Cyclops from X-Force. Okay.
yeah,
Why?
yeah. It's really random. They did two
Yeah.
Magnetos.
Yeah, two Magnetos, like one Age of Apocalypse and then no other Age of Apocalypse figures. It's like,
I'm waiting for Beast. I'm waiting for bigger
Yeah.
guys. Like I hope that the Thor that they got coming
that
out.
looks great.
I hope he's going to be in scale. Like with Legends, they made Thor a lot taller than the rest of the characters. So far, I've seen that with Mafex, you stand them all in a line, and they're all exactly the same size. So I'm a little nervous about that final.
Is that the case with Wolverine? Because I thought Wolverine was a little bit shorter. Maybe it's just
It's a little bit smaller. I have the brown suit one.
Yeah,
but
the brown suit one looks great.
When you look at everybody else, though, man, it's just you know what I mean. They just
they don't scale very well.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking forward to more of these guys too.
Which ones?
I'm doing a shoot and review on these guys. These are the Bandai Tamashii Nations.
Those are sick.
I've got all of these, and they just had at Celebration. They had like a vote for which one you wanted to see next, and of course, it's like
I can't believe they picked another fucking Mando.
Well, it's because there's little kids and moms and dads in line, and like, oh, Mando and Grogu. Like, no, we already got that. We got that.
They should have put that online.
I went in every day and voted for Akbar.
Man, the Akbar, and for me, like the Gamorrean Guard.
I like the Gamorrean Guard too. I threw a couple of the Gamorrean Guards away too.
I would have loved to have seen that. I'm pretty sure
it'll happen.
Make it, later on down the line. But
I love this line.
That's a cool line. I had the Boba from that, and it's really good QC, and it moves really well and stuff. But it's just like it's so separate from everything else I collect. It's like these samurai based Star Wars.
unless you get into all of them, or if you've got a Boba Fett collection where you can say, okay, here's another Boba Fett.
Yeah.
It's an outlier, as cool as it looks. I don't mind that stuff though. I have a bunch of things that are around here that are like kind of one-offs here and there.
Yeah.
I end up just getting more of anything like that though, because I bought a couple of those and now I've got like probably, I don't know, like 8 or 9 stormtroopers from that line. And I'm doing a shoot and review actually now. I just finished it up prior to coming on here, so look for it on the YouTube channel, OneSixth Shooter, that will be a shot and a little bit of a quick review of it. And it's a pretty cool shot. So I get to finally put the shot up on Instagram. It's been like weeks, but I put everything up on Instagram. So
awesome, man. Look forward to seeing that. Hey,
yeah.
Trevor, it's been really awesome catching up for a second time. Again,
recorded this time, hopefully.
Recorded, yes. Fully recorded. Just got to hit end broadcast this time. But yeah, man, take care of yourself and, have fun photographing whatever you're working on. And
yeah, for sure.
There's going to be some really cool eye candy coming up.
Yeah, some good Mythic Legion stuff going to be revealed too. So on my Legions Lounge show this month, we are one of the channels that's going to reveal one of the All-Star Wave parts or figures. So check that out.
They're going to throw in some surprises aside from the votes, right?
Oh yeah. There's quite a few. I'm going to be getting those. I don't even have them to photograph yet, so quite frankly, I don't even know what they are. But hopefully, I'll get those very soon because it's coming up. It's going to be tight.
Yeah,
as it always is. But I think we're on the 18th of July, and that's going to be our reveal day. And then there's, The Amazing's going to be doing one, Nerd Zoic and stuff. So there'll be some cool stuff to see. Hopefully.
Awesome, man. All right, Trevor. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out, man.
You got it. Thanks, George. Thanks for having me on.